Good morning, all. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Saurabh Gurg, Chief Executive Officer, Unique Identification Authority of India, Honorable Keynote Speaker, Mr. Lalit Gupta, Co-founder, Edduus, Honorable Director, IIM Sambalpur, Professor Mahdi Jaiswal, faculty members, staff colleagues, student, parent, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to this induction program. We shall start the program with lighting of the lamp. Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. As sunlight expels the darkness of night, let the brightness of light bring blessings in our life, prosperity, and happiness. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. I now invite our Honorable Director, Professor Mahdi Jaiswal, all our dignitaries, to light the lamp and mark the commencement of MBA Batch 07. Thank you all. May I now request Professor Poonam Kumar, Chairperson Admission, to give an introduction of the incoming 7th batch of the MBA program.
Thank you, Maheshi. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Saurabh Gurg, CEO, UIDAI, Guest of Honor, Sri Lalit Gupta, Co-founder, Edduus and Leadership Coach, Professor Mahdi Jaiswal, Director, IIM Sambalpur, dear faculty colleagues, staff members of IIM Sambalpur, parents, my dear present and incoming students. Good morning and a very warm welcome to all of you in the inauguration of the 7th batch of our flagship MBA program 2021-23. We are very pleased to announce that the 7th batch of MBA at Indian Institute of Management, Sambalpur, is a vibrant mix of gender and academic diversity. A total of 169 candidates have joined the program this year. Inclusivity is one of the core values of IIM Sambalpur, and I'm glad to share that we have diverse class profile with us. The total female students in the batch are 79. Around 48% of the batch comprises of female candidates with academic diversity of 33%, non-engineering students, and 67% engineering students from different corners of the country. Students are drawn from 22 states, and out of that, 65% come with the prior work experience in the industry, which is really remarkable. On behalf of faculty and staff, I convey my heartiest congratulations to each one of you who had joined IIM Sambalpur. Dear students, we all know that we are currently in the unprecedented situation of ongoing pandemic. So treat the digital mode of communication and learning as an amazing experience and treat it as an opportunity to change for the better. And I'm sure you will be here to change for the better. I'm sure that the 2 years of the precious time that you spend here will lay a solid foundation for a brilliant career. I'm also confident that with your impressive qualities of teamwork, drive for excellence will make you tomorrow's responsible leaders, and above all, do not forget a very good human being. So wish you all the very best for your academic session and future. Thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May I request Professor Merlin Nandi, Chairperson PGP, to give an introduction of the MBA program at IIM Sambalpur.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Professor Poonam, for an introduction to this batch of young and bright students. My heartiest congratulations and a warm welcome to the incoming 7th batch of MBA 2021-23. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this IIM Sambalpur family. We would have loved to welcome you in person, but thanks to the pandemic, we are on to a virtual start. I'll start with a short introduction to the MBA program. The Master of Business Administration program is the flagship program of IIM Sambalpur. It aims to prepare students for acquiring the conceptual and social skills to take on managerial responsibilities in the competitive business environment, and to also groom students to take on entrepreneurial challenges. The program is spread across 2 years, each year comprising of 3 terms. The students spend about 8 weeks in a summer internship in a business organization at the end of the first year. Keeping in mind the business environment, IIM Sambalpur has tried to keep the curriculum updated that caters to industry preferences and challenges of global competition. The MBA curriculum, complemented by experiential learning pedagogy based on flipped classroom, provides students with an ideal platform to augment their skill set, knowledge, and competency so that they can take challenging roles with confidence in the corporate world. Apart from the rigorous curriculum, the institute also has access to the best faculty in the IIM system. The compulsory courses in the first year and elective courses in the second year are offered by our in-house and visiting faculties from top-notch institutions. The program learning is further supplemented by regular engagement with guest lectures, industry visits, live industry projects, summer projects, and workshops. Students also go through an international immersion program to refine their understanding of global business. Students, we are starting with the 5-day orientation program today, which includes talks by various experts and will facilitate you to get familiarized with the institute, know the faculty, the teaching pedagogy, other staff members, and the infrastructure. The preparatory sessions would get you ready to cope with the rigor of the MBA program. Your classes of term 1 would begin from July 26th, immediately after the preparatory sessions and the induction week. This marks the beginning of a long and transformational journey, and I urge dear students to ensure your well-being first in the current times so that you are able to give your best. My best wishes to the 7th batch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Professor Mahdi Jaiswal is the founding director of IIM Sambalpur. Prior to this, he was professor in information systems and dean research at MDI, Gurgaon. His qualifications include PGPX from MIT, USA, PhD in computer science from Delhi University, and senior Fulbright fellow from Carnegie Mellon University, USC. Recently, he has been conferred an honorary degree of Doctor of Science by Sangam University. He has been visiting professor at IIM Ahmedabad, University of California, USA, Rotterdam School of Management, Netherlands. His area of expertise includes innovation strategy for startups, digital innovation, platform ecosystems, social entrepreneurship, e-governance, ERP, and IT strategy. He has published more than 100 research papers and cases in international journals, and he is author of 7 books in information systems and digital strategy. He has pioneered in introducing flipped classroom as learning pedagogy in India. He has been engaged as management consultant on ERP and digital strategy for several large organizations as Coal India Limited, Steel Authority of India Limited, Power Grid, Rural Electrification Corporation, Asian Development Bank, Cochin International Airport. He was associated in developing capacity maturity model for IT and ITES at Carnegie Mellon University. He drafted policy document on ICT strategy for Indian manufacturing competitiveness for DIPP Government of India. He has been member of several expert committee of Government of India and industry. May I now request our Honorable Director, Professor Mahdi Jaiswal, to give his welcome address.
Very good morning, everyone. Chief guest, Dr. Saurabh Gurg, IAS, and currently Chief Executive Officer, UIDAI, Government of India. Keynote speaker, Mr. Lalit Gupta, co-founder of Edduus. Other invited speakers who will be speaking in next 2 days and 5 days from industry, government, and media. Media and my colleague, Professor Marlin Nandi, Chair of PGP, Professor Poonam Kumar, Chair of Admissions, Professor Deepti Ranjan Mohapatra, Chair of Corporate Relations and Placement, my colleagues from faculty and staff at Sambalpur, distinguished guest members from media, and my dear students of MBA and PhD program who are joining today, their parents and families, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of IIM Sambalpur, I extend a very warm and hearty welcome on this very special occasion on the inauguration of 7th batch MBA and 3rd batch PhD program of IIM Sambalpur. The MBA class 2021 with full strength of 169 students is vibrant combination of gender and academic diversity with more than 45% female candidates, 72% with engineering, and about 60% with prior work experience in industry, and representing more than 22 states and union territory of our country. The 5-day induction program will be addressed by the CEOs and presidents from top industry and government. We are indeed delighted to have Dr. Saurabh Gurg, the CEO of UIDAI, Government of India, and Mr. Lalit Gupta, co-founder of Edduus, for their gracious presence here to inaugurate the new batch of our MBA program. Since many of you may not be knowing the location of IIM Sambalpur, particularly those students who are joining, IIM Sambalpur is currently operating out of Sambalpur University campus, and this area is known as Burlat Educational Town. As apart from Sambalpur University, it has 2 more major universities. One is a medical university, another is engineering university. Sambalpur is a historical city and very famous for its Sambalpur textile. It's also famous for world's largest dam called Hirakud Dam, and above all, Ma Samlesvi Temple. The nearest airport, Jharsuguda, is about an hour from here, and which is located in one of the highest industrialized city of Odisha. The development of our permanent campus is in progress, as the foundation stone for the same was laid down by our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, on 2nd January 2021. And as per our plan, our permanent campus is expected to be ready by August 2022. Now coming to the vision of IIM Sambalpur. The vision of IIM Sambalpur is to nurture responsible leaders with entrepreneurial mindset. And as part of our core operating values, we operate around 3 I's. And these 3 I's are called innovation, inclusiveness, and integrity. As there are total 20 IIMs, we'd like to know, and you must be very curious to know how IIM Sambalpur is unique and different from other IIMs. IIM Sambalpur, the role of IIM Sambalpur mainly focus on building entrepreneurial capacity so as to create wealth for country and society. And our unique proposition is to nurture a large number of startups and entrepreneurs across country. In fact, we are very soon going to create our incubation center across different cities in our country. We would not like to be known just by giving MBA degrees. In fact, we would like to be known for creating wealth for our nations through startups and incubations and entrepreneurship. And therefore, I would encourage all our young MBA students who are going to be part of our institute to align themselves with the vision and participate in executing our major role of creation of wealth for the nation. We desire you all to acquire a skill when you are here and capability so that you can create wealth for organizations where you work or you are going to work, and also for yourself. There are many examples. The best example is Bill Gates, who joined Harvard, but within a couple of months, he left because he was more keen on creating wealth through startups and through innovation. And he formed Microsoft. And he got the first order without having written the software. And after 20 years, or more than 20 or 30 years of his work, when he has proven that he can create wealth for United States as well as for society, he was granted a PhD degree from Harvard. I'm sure many of you would like to do the same, but after completing your 2 years, but we are open. You may drop out, create wealth, and create enough wealth and create enough innovations so that we can invite you for getting your degree back. Another example is Zuckerberg who formed Facebook. He also was a dropout of Harvard, and of course, he has created a lot of wealth and a lot of fame through Facebook, and now he has acquired WhatsApp. And he's waiting from Harvard to get his degree, but it takes time. And therefore, degree is not that easy. But ultimately, you can also see Steve Jobs. He created, again, wealth for the whole world and created innovations and solved a lot of communication problems, a lot of technological innovation problems for many parts of the world. And all these companies which were created by the dropout were the best schools. There are many examples where after working for a few years in industry, a lot of MBA graduates start their own and create companies, startups, and become part of the world chain of wealth creators. Our country needs more wealth now through innovations, not through trading, but through innovation business, so that we can solve all the problems of society, because there are many problems to be solved. You will discover when you start looking at the problems that every corner there are problems. There's a problem of good quality health services across the city, across the country. There's a problem good quality education across the country. There's a problem of various business models to be created for various solutions and problems of various sectors of our country. And this requires entrepreneurial approach. And I'm sure many of you will be looking for it. And therefore, I would urge, when you're joining here, you must join with a purpose. You should not just join that you will be coming and getting your degree. You must acquire degree, but ultimately larger purpose, larger aim should be always behind you, so that you can think beyond the course curriculum. I'm extremely delighted to welcome Dr. Saurabh Gurg, who is right now heading one of the largest startups created by Government of India. UIDAI is also a startup. It is world unique, not only unique in terms of identification, it is unique in terms of its propositions. There is no country in the world which has such systems which identified citizens in a digital form. And this UID today is catering to various social inclusion projects, whether it's a financial inclusion, whether the poverty elevations, whether public distributions, everywhere our Honorable Prime Minister's Modi government is executing various social inclusion projects very, very successfully. And thanks to the UID, which was created by Government of India in terms of startups. And therefore, we are looking for that who could be the best person to come as a chief guest in this particular program, because we are also startup focused. And we thought Dr. Garg, who is also alum of MBA of IIM Ahmedabad, and also PhD from Johns Hopkins University. And he is also an IS and worked with various sectors across different units in state as well as central government. Apart from this, Mr. Lalit Gupta, who is MBA from IIM Bangalore and co-founder of Edduus startup, is another right person to address in this program, because as a matter of practice, we have been inviting only those industry stalwarts and government stalwarts who has their degree from IIM. Apart from that, they must have an experience of the startups. And that is why you must have seen that most of our speakers in the inaugural sessions, whether this year or last many years, has been always like that. Now, we also talk about inclusiveness as part of our operating value. And we became the first IIM with very high gender diversity in 2019. And throughout, we have been maintaining more than 40% of our gender diversity in our MBA program ever since 2019. Another evidence of our inclusionist value proposition is that we have been working with Ministry of MSME and also SME Forum to nurture small business and startups in small towns as part of our inclusive agenda. Friends, we all are witnessing a massive disruptions in our economic and social life for the last 1.5 years. And I'm sure somehow we have been managing through digital mode, but I'm sure very soon this pandemic will get diluted. This pandemic will be overcome by various scientific solutions like vaccines and many others. And then we'll be love to see you all in our campus. Of course, our digital educations will continue because digital is part of our education agenda. And therefore, we would like to increase our digital presence across our program. At the same time, we would also like you to be part of our experiential learning through various your clubs and activities. And we would like to be also creating more of a business projects inside the class. Even if you're having 2 years spent here, we would like that most of the time you should be spending time on problem solving, project-based educations inside the class. Since you will be here to learn how to create wealth, whether you specialize in finance or marketing or strategy or operations or human resource, ultimately your main aim is to create and enhance wealth for organizations and also for yourself and also for society. Our faculty members are supposed to be providing you enough skill and educations in how to commercialize knowledge-based business. Because we don't want to teach you a traditional model of business. We'd like to show you how innovation can be commercialized using various methods and techniques. The coronavirus outbreak and subsequent countrywide lockdown for the last couple of months and more than a year, no doubt deeply impacted India's economy, cutting across business process and sent stock waves prior to the year and account book closures. With business expecting a significant decline in revenue and falling demand, there will be resultant job losses or pay cuts. The sectors like tourism, hospitality, automobiles, real estate are the vulnerable sectors. And therefore, these are the great opportunity for you to come and learn how to revive them. For short term, there will be business loss in SME and organized sector due to financial and migrant labor problems. But government interventions are definitely helping them to revive these sectors. Overall, India will be a gainer in long term because we have enough talent and we have enough strength, talented strength. And I'm sure the Indian industry, government, and also the talented students coming out from IIM will be able to take proactive steps in terms of promoting FDI for industry and adopting the 17 Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations. However, a new world is something we are expecting post-COVID crisis. The new jobs will also get created in various industries, which will be much more in demand post-lockdown. Hence, new emerging business such as healthcare services, pharma, telemedicine, e-commerce, social commerce, e-learning, online and office solutions, robotics, drone-based logistics, specialized IT services for global as well as domestic clients, organic farming, manufacturing for domestic as well as global clients will boost and guide companies to further invest in Make in India. We are all waiting for the curve to flatten, including the government, but as equal stakeholders, I believe it is right time to shift from economy focus on aggregate GDP growth to differentiate among sectors that can grow and need investment. Increase investment in critical public sectors and clean energy, education, and health. Reduce consumptions and travel with drastic shift from luxury and wasteful consumption and travel to basic, necessary, sustainable, and welcome and new normal that will be the self-reliant, more civilized, inclusive, and more social with distance will emerge out of this pandemic. To conclude, I would urge the MBA 2021-23 batch at IIM Sambalpur. Come with a dream, come with a vision, and come and create and nurture your visions, which is sustainable and which can create a sustainable society for the whole world. Whole world is looking towards these young entrepreneurs that how they want to reshape the whole economy and society. I wish that you all make maximum optimum use of your next 2 years here to developing your managerial and leadership capability along with entrepreneurship and align yourself with the vision of IIM Sambalpur, that is to nurture yourself to be responsible leader with entrepreneurial mindset. My best wishes to you all MBA class 2021-23 and also PhD class 2021. Thank you very much. And again, I thank all my keynote speakers and chief guests for their kind presence. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for your words of encouragement and wisdom. Now we have amongst us Shri Lalit Gupta as the keynote speaker for the day. Mr. Lalit Gupta is a corporate leader and a startups mentor. He is co-founder of Edduus, an education platform that is architected to transform and redefine the global education system. Mr. Gupta is also co-founder of ZIL, a first-of-its-kind application aimed at reducing stress and anxiety of its users. It uses gamification to instill habits that are scientifically proven to reduce stress and anxiety into a user's day-to-day life. Currently based out at Malaysia, he is an alumnus of IIM Bangalore, a PGPM from IIM Bangalore, Bachelor of Engineering from BITS Milan. Mr. Gupta has over 30 years of extensive business leadership experience across countries in Asia, Pacific, and Japan. In his last role, Mr. Gupta was CMO at ICLIF Leadership and Governance Center. He is also a leadership coach and faculty for Leadership Development Program. Mr. Gupta has spoken at numerous regional and global conferences on leadership. He focuses on how leadership and management practices need to change in today's fast-changing world of digitalization, connectivity, and disruption. So, may I now request you to deliver the keynote address.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning and welcome. I hope everybody can hear me well. Honorable Dr. Saurabh Gurg, our chief guest for today, dear Professor Jaiswal, the guiding light for IIM Sambalpur, thank you for this opportunity. And to the batch of 2021, congratulations and welcome to this commencement ceremony. This event takes me back about 36 years ago in 1985, And I'm sure that's the year when I don't think any one of you would have been even born at that time. So 1985 was the time when I joined IIM Bangalore, and I was a young man of 21 years age, and I had my dreams and I had my aspirations. And I'm sure that all of you have your dreams and your aspirations. And the question is, what are you dreaming about? And what are you aspiring for? And one thing I can tell you is that you are probably one of the luckiest generations, because we are living in an era of opportunities and possibilities. As Professor Jaiswal just talked about, it is an era of entrepreneurs, and it is an era of leaders. And we'll talk more about that in a short while. But let me first just start out by saying about certain things that you can be absolutely sure of when you are in IIM for the next 2 years. This is based on my experience. You are going to have lots of fun. It is going to be hugely transformational for you. I can tell you that you are among some of the brightest minds in the country, whether it is your batchmates, your fellow students, your faculty, the industry that you'll be dealing with, etc., interacting and engaging on a regular basis. So you will be among some of the brightest minds in the country. You will learn a lot in the next 2 years. You will learn about leadership, strategy, marketing, sales, operations, human capital, etc. And you will have a very good start to your career, whether you join a multinational or you start an entrepreneurial venture of your own. But the question is, so all of these things are true. You're going to have fun. You will learn a lot. You'll spend time with some of the smartest brains, and you will have a great start to the career. But the question is that enough? And I believe that it is not. So the question that I want to pose to you today is, are you going to be leading your life or living your life? Leading versus living. And how do you make that transition, and why is it important? Now, it's an important question, and we'll come back to that in a moment. So let me first set the context in terms of the time that we are living in. And Professor Jaiswal very nicely put it, how there is a huge amount of disruption that's happening all around us. And COVID pandemic has only accelerated some of those changes. Now, would you agree that everything today is more efficient than it was 5 years or 10 years ago? Absolutely. Because that's what technology does. Right? It makes everything more efficient. So today, everything's more efficient than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, etc. And today, we have some of the best tools for time management. But does that mean that we have a lot of time at our hands? Absolutely not. We are rushing through our lives. We are busy as hell. We are living in interesting times. Today, everything and everyone is connected. And this uber connectivity and emerging technologies are disrupting traditional business models, traditional social models, traditional economic models faster than ever before. The things are changing. The changes that we are seeing today are revolutionary in nature. They are not evolutionary. We are living in this linear world of time and space dimensions, but we are surrounded by changes which are exponential in nature. So we are living in this world of linear dimensions, but we are surrounded by exponential curves, what I call as hockey sticks. So what do you make of that? So this is an era of huge amount of uncertainty. At the same time, it is an era of huge amount of possibilities and huge amount of opportunities. So when we talk about uncertainty, on one hand, it gives rise to opportunities and possibilities. On the other hand, obviously, there are some daunting challenges. And we'll have to figure out how we take advantage of those opportunities and possibilities and not get bogged down into those challenges. Today, the world that we are living in is very different from what it was 5 or 10 years ago. And it will be very different in the next 10, 20, 30 years. The question is, who's going to be defining the world that we're going to have in 10, 20, or 30 years ago? Will you be one of those people who will be defining the word that we will see in 10, 20, or 30 years ago. And that's what I mean by saying this is an era of opportunities. This is an era of possibilities. The question is, are you going to be able to make that transition from living to leading? So let me go back to the question that I posed earlier. Are you going to be leading your life? Are you going to be just merely living your life? What is it that the leaders do differently from others? And there are three things that I want to talk about in this session. So in the next about 8 to 10 minutes, let me just focus on just three things. One is leaders have what I call as high levels of emotional integrity. Now, I'm not talking about IQ or EQ, etc. I'm talking about emotional integrity. Now, what is emotional integrity? Emotional integrity is having the courage to look into the mirror and to be able to say that this is what I want for myself. It is about being brutally honest to oneself. This is what I want for myself, not what my family wants for me, not what my parents want for me, or that famous statement, not what your Paros ke Sharma ji wants for you. It is what you want for yourself. Who am I and what I want from this life? It is having that honesty. Who do you think we are most dishonest with? With ourselves. So leaders have high levels of emotional integrity, which is about admitting to oneself, what is that you want? Who am I and what I want? And it's a journey. But the question is, are you asking that question? Are you pondering on that question? So leaders have high levels of emotional integrity. They're honest to themselves. The second is that leaders make choices intentionally and consciously. Let me just tell you a story. Right? So there's this guy, he's driving in a car on a nice road. There's a nice music playing. There's nice sunshine, enjoying the drive. And suddenly he comes across a fork and he doesn't know which road to take. So he stops there and he meets this person who's standing next to the road. And he says, which road should I take? And this man says, where do you want to go? And he says, I don't know. And he said, then it doesn't matter. Leaders make choices intentionally and consciously. We are making choices every day, every week, every moment of our life. Right now, you're listening to me intently. That is a choice that you're making. Right now, if you're checking a message on your mobile, that is a choice that you're making. So we make choices every moment and every day and every week of our life. But most of the choices we are making unknowingly and unintentionally. Wouldn't it be nice if we are able to put some kind of a compass or some kind of intention behind our choices? It is about who am I and what I want from my life. What is important for me? What matters to me the most? And these are the fundamental questions that one needs to ask if you want to become a leader, if you want to become an entrepreneur. So leaders make choices consciously, they make choices intentionally. The third point about leadership that I want to talk about is that leaders are curious. Now we are talking about an era of possibilities. We're talking about an era of opportunities. Leaders are curious. They experiment, they explore, they try out new things. They are not scared of failures because they understand that failure is the only way for you to learn and grow. In today's time, when we talk about things are changing so dramatically, we are talking about revolutionary changes. We are talking about industries that don't exist today, which existed 10, 20 years ago. We are talking about industries that will exist in 10, 20 years ago, which don't exist today. According to one statistic, 80% of the jobs in 2030 have not been invented yet. How do you prepare for that? And that is the kind of scenario that I'm talking about. So you need to be curious. You need to be experimenting, exploring, and trying out new things. You need to be absolutely comfortable with the failure. That is what an entrepreneur is, and that's what a leader is. So leadership. So when we talk about that transition from living to leading, or what is it that leaders do differently? So number one, leaders have high levels of emotional integrity. Who am I and what I want? Leaders make choices intentionally and consciously. What is it that is important for me? What matters to me the most? And leaders are curious. This is an era of learning and growing. You don't know what is going to be important in 5-10 years' time. Lifelong learning was important 10 years ago, 20 years ago. All the time it has been important, but not as important as it is today. If you don't continue to learn and grow, you will become outdated so quickly that you won't have a clue. So leadership is about being curious, learning and growing and moving forward with that. So in the end, let me just say that you are one of the luckiest generations. You're entering into this era of possibilities and opportunities. It is an era for leaders and entrepreneurs. And I think you are at probably the right IIM to be able to succeed in that, because the focus on entrepreneurship in IIM Sambalpur is exemplary. You have to make a choice between leading your life versus living your life. So the question is, what is it that you're dreaming about today? As our former president, Abdul Kalam Azad, once said, that real dreams are not what you have when you're sleeping. Real dreams are not what you have when you're sleeping. Real dreams are what keep you from sleeping. So the question is, what is it that you're dreaming about? Are you ready to take on this era of possibilities and era of opportunities? Are you willing to become a leader and an entrepreneur? Are you willing to take charge of your own life? I wish you all the best. Congratulations and welcome to this batch again, and all the best to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful words. We are now privileged to have amongst us Dr. Saurabh Gurg as the chief guest for today's sermon. Dr. Saurabh Gurg is the Chief Executive Officer of Unique Identification Authority of India. Prior to this, he was Principal Secretary, Agriculture and Farmers Empowerment, Odisha, where he worked on digitalizing agriculture and developing a direct income transfer scheme for farmers. He has worked in Ministry of Finance, Government of India, where he spearheaded the formation of the National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, worked on improving the foreign direct investment policies, preparing the framework for digital payments, revamping of the gold sector policies, and led the negotiation for bilateral investment treaties. He has been a member of experts committees, working groups set up by the Ministry of Finance, Niti Aayog, RBI, and SEBI on social stock exchanges, integration of commodity spot and derivatives market, promotion of digital payments, and framework regarding virtual cryptocurrencies. He has also worked in the areas of developing urban and industrial infrastructure. Dr. Garg is an IAS officer of Odisha cadre and has over 30 years of experience at different levels of government, district, state, and central government, as well as in the private sector. He has also worked as advisor with the World Bank in the office of the Executive Director for India in Washington, DC. He has been Chairman, Managing Director of public sector companies. Dr. Garg holds a PhD in International Economics and Development from the Johns Hopkins University, USC. He has an MBA from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad, where he was awarded a gold medal and a BTech from the Indian Institute of Technology, New Delhi. He was a Chevening Gurukul Fellow at the London School of Economics and Political Science, London. He has published articles and contributed to books in different areas, including innovations in administration, infrastructure, financing, and financial inclusion. May I now request Sir to give his address, please.
Thank you. Good morning to all, and thank you, Dr. Jaiswal, for inviting me, for giving this opportunity to talk to these young people who are here today. I must thank my previous speaker, Mr. Gupta, for an excellent talk on leadership. And once again, I thank all the faculty members of IIM Sambalpur for having developed IIM Sambalpur to the levels that it has come. Sambalpur is an area I'm very familiar with. I've spent nearly 5 years of my career in that region. In fact, I started my first job in Orissa from Sambalpur area in Devgarh. I've spent time in Bargarh, Jharsuguda, and other neighboring places. So I'm sure even though most of the students are presently on virtual mode, they will be looking forward to coming to campus at the earliest. And especially given the fact that, as Dr. Jaiswal mentioned, that the new campus would be hopefully there by August 22, which is well within the period that all of you would be there. And I'm sure you will enjoy your stay in Sambalpur. I think we were discussing on how things change. If you look 100 years back, the companies that were there, US Steel used to be the biggest company. It probably doesn't exist now. 50 years back, globally, IBM was the biggest company. It probably doesn't exist now. And for the past few years, you have the FANGs, the Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, and Google. And more recently, just last week, you have Zomato, which is the third largest IPO in history of India. And who could have thought that that would happen? And I think that's key. That change would be absolutely there everywhere. I remember when IIM Ahmedabad started in the early 60s. The way people used to go to IIM Ahmedabad, they used to say it's right opposite Atira. Atira used to be the Textile Institute, Textile Research Institute, ATIRA. And that's how IIM Ahmedabad was identified, that it's that some institution which is opposite Atira. And 50 years later, I'm sure things have changed. I'm sure IIM Sambalpur would also be in those annals as we move ahead, and the way it is growing and developing with the 3I framework that was mentioned earlier. And that's what I would like to just mention, that going forward, if everyone could predict the future, then I'm sure all of us wouldn't be having here. And that's the beauty of the future, that you can make educated guesses, you can make estimates. People talk that in future, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, nanotechnology, space, these would be the new frontiers. So everyone is making educated guesses, but that's what they are. They remain guesses. And that's what makes it exciting to go into the future, knowing that there will be changes which never could have, one could have imagined a few years back. Who can imagine that maybe 10 or 20 years from now, we may not use coal or even petrol as fuel. You might have alternatives, and already we are moving in those directions. So I think, given that change is what is permanent, one suggestion I can make to the young students, I noticed that 2/3 of you are engineers, half of you are women. What you would need to do as you go ahead is look at what are the gaps in your education which you need to fill. And the ones who have a more rounded education, and it can be rounded in various ways, in terms of the sectors that you are doing, in terms of the expertise that you have. But I would certainly say that those who do not have a technology background do look at courses within, I'm sure Sambalpur would be offering you a host of courses which will familiarize you with various technologies. It's not necessary that you need to know each one of them, but it would definitely help if you have a broad knowledge of some of the technologies that exist. If I were to look back over the past 30 years, what are some of the areas which I feel have been extremely useful to me in my various jobs? One, I would definitely say is communication. Whether it's communication, it's written communication, it's oral communication, but ultimately, every interaction that you have with another human being is an exercise in communication. And I remember in IIM Ahmedabad, we used to have this course called WAC, WAC, Written Analysis and Communication. And week after week, and it continued for the entire first year, and week after week, we were supposed to submit written submissions on various. We used to find them extremely painful. But if I would say something which has helped in every job, irrespective of what job it is that ability to communicate. And I don't restrict it to only written communication. It's oral communication, how you make presentations, how you're able to distill information from across. So do focus on that. People who are good in communication, please do improve it. Wherever you feel you need to do, take part in debates, in elocutions, and these kind of activities, they do help extremely well. The second area, if I would look back, what has been useful is the focus we had on IIM Ahmedabad, and I'm sure IIM Sambalpur also has, is on working in groups. In fact, half our evaluation used to be based on the work that we brought out together as a group in teams. And very often the teams were not that we could select on our own, they were random teams. Because as you work forward, you will have to work with people, with unknown people. I'm sure they're not unknown in the class, but you have some friends with you're more friendly with some and not friendly with others. And more importantly, you will have to work with unpleasant people. You don't have a choice. You have to work with them. As they say, you can't select your boss. And very often you can't select your subordinates either. You have to work with the box where you are. You have to work with the subordinates who are given with. And you might have some choices, but very often you don't. As a CEO of UIDAI, you would think I can decide a lot of things, but believe me, you work within a system and you work without disrupting that system if you want to perform. So performance depends a lot on teamwork, on working in groups. And while no doubt you can steer groups, you can lead them, but the fact remains that even a leader, performance is dependent on how well the team that is working with the leader. So do learn to work in groups, do learn how to work in teams. And in that, apart from what you do within your academic courses, I think it's working in teams beyond coursework, that is in the extracurricular activities, the co-curricular activities, the clubs and societies that you must be having. No doubt you will be constrained by the fact that many of you for some more time might have to work through the virtual mode. But believe me, we've learned how to work through the virtual world in groups, and I'm sure you will be able to adapt so much more faster. The third thing which I would focus on is learn to listen. Very often we don't listen. We don't listen to whether it's our teachers, parents, friends, peers, subordinates, and a lot of that learning comes from listening. So while you might be in love with your own voice and like to speak a lot, but I would suggest learn to listen. It's worth it. It's worth it. You might listen for half the time. You might feel it's not useful, but the fact remains the other half is, and you don't know which half is useful and which half is not useful until you've heard both the halves. So do listen, even if you feel that it's not worth it. You might learn something from it. And believe me, that's how you learn. Fourthly, never despair. There might be a course where you get a C grade, which I hope you don't get, but I'm sure there will be some areas where you don't do well. Life is a marathon, but run in 100-meter sprints. So 100-meter sprint, you might not do well, but believe me, life is a marathon. The 42 kilometers have lots of 100-meter sprints. And in one 100-meter sprint, you might not do well, but that doesn't mean that you despair and you give up. And that's what, when people say you should learn on failures, and that's what it is. One failure doesn't define you. And Mr. Gupta just talked of startups and how Mr. Jaiswal also mentioned that. And I think the key of startups is that startups fail, and yet people do well. Whether it's the examples Professor Jaiswal gave of Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, or they could have been called failures because they left colleges and all, but the fact is they came back. So life is not defined by one particular event. Life is not defined by one particular issue. Believe me, life is long. Life is a marathon, and all of you will do well. But just don't be so focused on the goal after 42 years or 42 kilometers that you don't look at your goal after 100 meters. So you need to have small term victories, but don't expect victory at every stage in your life. There will be stages where there will be problems. And one other area which I think was mentioned by Professor Jaiswal as part of the 3 I's integrity, Mr. Gupta also mentioned about emotional integrity. I can only reiterate that it's been called in the corporate governance field of ESG, environmental, social, and governance issues. It's called corporate social responsibility, CSR. So ethics, integrity, whether at a personal level, whether at an organizational level, whether at a group level, very often it seems in the short run that you can cut corners and go ahead. It might help you in the short run. It might help you in 100-meter sprint. But believe me, there are lots of 100-meter sprints. It will not be able to help you all the time. So I'm sure all of you are young. All of you are looking forward for the next 2 years of your time at the IIM. You are going to be IIM Sambalpur alumni. IIM Sambalpur would be your alma mater. Do take some time to spend and give back to your alma mater when you leave. It might be just thinking about it. It might be just talking about it. But believe me, that's how an institution develops. IIM Ahmedabad, when it started off in the early 60s, people did not get a job from IIM Ahmedabad in the first few batches. It was a struggle for them to place them. But it took 10 years, 15 years. And as I mentioned that what was there the best 50 years back, 100 years back, may not be the best 30 years from now. So looking forward to seeing all of you doing well. And believe me, doing well is having fun in doing well, in being happy in what you are doing. So don't be too focused on a job. You have a career, which might be a number of jobs put together. And what is most important is to have fun, enjoy, and that is where it will bring out your passion. So all the best to you. And once again, thank you. And I would have loved to be in Sambalpur, and that's where I started my career. And I love that area. And do take, I'm sure you will get opportunity to visit some of the places in and around Sambalpur. Be aware of it. There's a Debrigar Wildlife Sanctuary just next to the Sambalpur campus. Hirakud is, of course, there. And there are a lot of interesting places out there. I'm sure you will enjoy your Sambalpur stay. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts. Our students shall be immensely benefited by your words of wisdom and guidance. May I now request Professor Deepti Ranjan Mahapatra, Chairperson Placement, to give the oath of thanks.
Dr. Saurabh Gurg, CEO, UIDAI, Mr. Lalit Gupta, co-founder, Edduus and ZIL Malaysia, Professor Mba Jaiswal, Director, Sambalpur, esteemed guests on the dais and off the dais, respected faculty colleagues, staff members, invited here, dear current and the incoming students. It's an absolute privilege for me to extend a vote of thanks on this great moment. On behalf of the entire fraternity of Sambalpur, I wish to express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to Dr. Saurabh Gurg and Mr. Lalit Gupta for taking time off from their super hectic schedule and for delivering such an inspiring and memorable addresses. I'd like to take this opportunity to express thanks to Director Prof. Jaiswal for his unstinted support and guidance. I convey thanks to all the distinguished invitees who have virtually joined today and are going to join in the rest of the week. Appreciation thanks to all our faculty colleagues for their involvement and great support. Special thanks to Professor Mallin and Professor Poonam. Sincere thanks to our admin team led by Mr. Mohanty, Mr. Mahesh, Satish, Mr. Dora, Prithvi, and the entire staff and the housekeeping team. Without your support and involvement, no such event is complete. I'd like to express a thanks to the media persons and the PR team for being part of our outreach activities. Special thanks to Professor Pravesh for leading this effort. With this, let me once again reiterate my gratitude. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, sir. The what do you call program for the first half of the day comes to an end. We shall meet back at 2:30 in this for the introduction of faculty and staff members. Thank you all.